Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be using Microsoft Power BI to analyze the Cloud Kitchen dataset. So I had made earlier videos on analyzing Cloud Kitchen dataset using different BI tools. So we used Excel for using and analyzing the Cloud Kitchen dataset, and we used Tableau, SQL, and Python as well. So in this video, we'll be discussing how can we use Power BI, and we'll be learning about some different DAX measures such as summarize, filter, as well as we'll be comparing our approach with the way how we do it in Excel sheet itself. So coming back to the data, here we have data for Cloud Kitchen sample data, where suppose I'm a customer, uh, I have a customer ID of this value. So I have made an order with an order ID, this value, and I have ordered to a restaurant which is a brand 4, probably, and the partner name is this. So partner name is basically delivery partner, such as the order and the prepared date is basically taking into consideration that how much time does it take for preparing your order, which kitchen is it allocated, what location, and what are the different items which I had ordered. And the last would be to understand that what are the final bill. So here we'll be looking at different questions, such as most popular item, which partner had the most orders, and so on. We'll be looking into time function as well and understand the summarize functions. So the first thing what I'll do is I'll open Power BI over here, and I'll just click on get data over here an Excel workbook and click on connect. And I'll just select Cloud Kitchen raw data. So Power BI has different modules. I mean, once I connect with the data, I have an option to go to Power Query to use their features and their functions, or else I can load the data in Power BI itself, and then I can work with the DAX functions to do some calculations. So I'll just click the sheet one, and here I'll not be using any cleaning function, but I'll just be loading the data into Power BI itself. So you have two options, load and transform. In transform, it basically loads the data in Power Query, where we can add some new calculations or filter the data accordingly, whatever you need. So it shows that there were about 100 records which were loaded, and it will give us the option over here. So how the pane works is, on the top, you have different options which you can select. On the left hand side, you have different kinds of views which you can look from. Here you have an filter option. So if I click here, I can go to the filter section. I can put the filters over here. Here are different visualization options, and most of the options for editing any visualization or chart will be showing up over here itself. And this will be formatting your report page. This will be mainly your data page where you can work with. So the first thing what we'll be doing is we want to know which is the most popular item. So what I'll do, I'll just put a matrix over here. So when I click it, it creates a matrix over here. And then what I need is, the first thing I'll need the item name, and I need how many orders have been there. So what I'll be doing is I'll just move this order ID to values. So when I move it to values, by default, it basically gives me an aggregation of first order ID. But ideally, we don't need that. And if you notice, here we have the item name, and the orders have been hidden here. So if I expand this, I get this value. So now instead of first, what I need is I need a count distinct of order ID. So when I do that, I get the orders over here, and my aim is to see which item has most number of orders. So what I'll be doing, I'll just be clicking over here to help me sort the values, and I get to know directly that French fries has 8 number of orders, which is a maximum. Ultimate tawuk sandwich is the second highest one. Going to the second question, we try to identify that which partner had the most order and which brand is the most popular. So both, uh, all the three questions are more or less similar approach where I'll just be unticking the item name and I can put, let's say, the brand name and see the aggregation that which brand is most popular. So brand 4 is most popular. And now if I want to move to the next question would be partner name. So I can click on that and defaults added to columns. I can move it anywhere we want. And I know the partner 2 has the most number of orders. So now this is a table. Now, when we select a visualization, it will show these boxes over here and we can move it anywhere. And if you want to change the visualization, we are able to change it using the visualization selection over here. So for now, I'll just keep the chart over here, keep the cross tab over here and move to the next question. So next question, we are trying to identify that which kitchen takes the longest and the shortest time to prepare. So here we'll be understanding how to have a difference between two time. So here we are working on the report view where we can add different charts. We have a different view of data view, which will basically show it as an Excel sheet. Like I can see the data as an Excel sheet and view the records. So here we have different options to create different measures, column, and do those things. And when we go to model view, we have different options of connecting it with different data. So if I have sheet 1 over here and I have sheet 2, maybe it could be some kind of customer names or customer history, then I can add that and connect with the customer ID. And then I can look into the data view that how my data looks at. So we'll be working on this particular view, which is the data view, to calculate the difference between the prepare and the order date. So the first thing what we'll be doing is we'll be adding a column. So here, are we doing this is new measure is basically a aggregated calculation which we'll be making, but new column basically calculates at an every row level, it will calculate the values and show it over here. So if I move and put a new column, a header over here, which will give me column equal to. So I can enter the formula over here. So there are different formulas which we can use. So for time difference, what I'll mention is I'll just mention time difference. So here when we calculating the time difference, we'll be using a function called date diff. So how do you get that is difference in Power BI. So when I type this and Google it, I get the first thing as date diff. So when I go to this function, I'll be able to know that it needs the date 1, date 2, and the interval, what I need to mention. Do I know the difference between these two dates in a seconds or minutes or however you want? So what I'll do is I'll just use the same function. I'll use date diff and it will auto like give me some suggestions. What all function can I use? And then it shows me the format, what I want to enter, and it also shows me what does it return. So what I'll be doing is I'll be mentioning my order date. It will auto go select that. I'll be selecting my prepare date. And what I need is seconds from this, which I'll be dividing by 60 so that I get minutes in a decimal way. So I'll just use seconds and divide by 60. So I get to know the time difference. So here I have the time difference for each order calculated by prepare and order date. Now moving to the next thing, I'll just go to the report view. And we want to know that in each kitchen, what is the time difference. So considering if we had to do this in Excel, what we would have done is we would take the kitchen, prepare an order date. So first I'll be seeing I have the time and time difference in minutes. So the first thing what I'll be doing is as this time difference is duplicated by item name, I'll be taking the kitchen name and time difference in minutes. I'll just copy this and paste it into a new tab. I'll just remove the duplicates from here. And now if I want to know what is the average time difference, So I'll just mention the range over here. My criteria is Whitefield and my average range is time difference in minutes. So I get 9.48. And now let's assume I want to even check for James Road. I'll just move it over here. I'll just paste it over here and I get 16 minutes. So the idea is to get this over here. So what we'll be doing is first we'll be removing the order ID and the partner name. We'll put the kitchen name. So the idea here is we need to take the kitchen name, we need to take the time difference and remove the duplicates. So now we need to summarize the kitchen name, the order ID, as well as the time difference in minutes. So what we'll be doing in this case is we'll be using a summarize function. So if I just write summarize, so if you notice, the summarize takes in parameters like table. What table do you want to consider is basically the sheet 1, sheet 2, or different table. What all group by column do you want to use? Let me just move to an example. So if you notice here, uh, they have taken a table of resellers USD. They have taken the calendar year, the product category name, and they have took a sum of resellers sales amount and renamed it to sales amount, as well as taken the discount amount and mentioned over there. So this basically table gives you a preview of this, which will be a pivot table kind of thing. And from that, you will be taking some values, maximum min of sales amount of or any other column to get the value which you want. What we'll be doing is we'll be going to home and click on new measure. So it has created a new measure over here. So what we'll be doing is we need the time difference for each kitchen. So we'll just mention that time difference. And the first thing what we'll be doing is we'll be using the summarize option. We need to summarize the table is sheet 1 and I want to summarize the kitchen name, the order ID, and the time difference. So this will ideally give me a simple table which will be this. And now what I want to do on top of this is take an average. Take an average of the time difference. So if you notice, we in average we have different functions like average A, average X, and average function. So we be particularly using average X over here. So what does basically these three different functions do? So on average, you can just mention one particular column and it will give you the average of that. If I move to average A, it will also be doing the same. So it will handle those text and non-numeric values. And moving to average X is basically a function which we can use against a table and we can write an expression that if you want to use any filter out of it, then what you can do. So we'll be using the same function over here. We'll be using average X. So the table of average X will be this summarize feature itself, and the expression will be my time difference. So I want to calculate the time difference average by kitchen name order ID. So once I do this, what I can do is I can select over here and put it in values. So here if you notice, while we are calculating it in Excel, Whitefield was 9.48, James Road was 16, and here we have similar numbers. Moving to the next question, how much time does the most popular item take to prepare in different kitchen location? So how this question becomes tricky is basically if it is taking 10 minutes to prepare this complete order, we don't have the time that how much time did it take to prepare cheese cubes or Oreo cheesecake or the sandwich. So what is the best thing we can do is take an average of 10.3 divided by the number of items in that particular order to get the time difference in minutes for in each item. So what we'll be doing is we'll be first calculating that how many items are there in a particular order. So how do we usually do it? This is by using a COUNTIF function in Excel. So we'll be using the same thing over here as well, but in a different way. I'll just type COUNTIF same column DAX. So if you notice, when we search for COUNTIF same column DAX, we get different option here. And if you notice this solution, so if you notice, the person here has asked for the answer of COUNTIF D1, where the condition is equal to D11. So we don't want this condition. We ideally want the condition where we are matching with the same column itself. So what we'll be doing is we'll be looking at a different solution itself. Let's look at this quickly. So we can watch this video and try to understand how they have used COUNTIF, or else directly move to the formula which they have mentioned over here. So I'll just scroll down to final formula. Okay. So here's the final formula for duplicate items. So what they have done is, as A is our column which we want to match, but to match it with A2, what they have used is they have created a variable, a sample variable with a current row ID, which is basically pointing to the sales date itself. So at every row level, it will basically pick the date feature over here, and then it will return number of rows. Count rows is just calculating the number of rows, and it will be filtering in this particular table for each row ID, how many are matching with the sales date. So ideally what is happening is it is just filtering, over here how many order IDs are equal to this value. So the first initialization which will happen is the current row ID will have the first value, which is over here, and it will store it in current row ID. And in the return thing, it will count the number of rows while filtering this particular sheet, that whether this value is existing in the sales date column or not. So what we'll be doing is we'll be using this similar kind of function over here as well. So as this function, we are expecting this to give the number of items for each order ID. So we'll be going to a data view to add the new column over here. So I'll go over here, I'll add a new column. All right. So here I want to know number of items per order, and I'll just click over here and click on Shift Enter, so it will go to the new line. What I'll do is I'll just create a new variable. Let's say order ID value, and this value will be my order ID. The second thing what I'll do is I want to return, so I want to return a value which will be count rows. So I'll be using count rows. So if you notice, count rows is just a function which will give the counter number of rows in a particular table. So our table here is filter. So filter will basically have an input of table and a filter expression, that what do we want to filter. So here we'll be mentioning our table name over here, and what we want to filter is we want to filter order ID value which has order ID in that particular cell, and we'll just close these two brackets and click on enter. So here if you notice, this item has three or like our order has three items. So we have received the names over here, the number of items per order. And now we can use this to create another calculation, which will give us a new column, time difference which will be dividing by the number of items per order. So this will be time difference per item, and we'll be simply doing the time difference divided by the number of items per order. So once we do this, we get the time difference per item now. Now the next thing is we just want to know that for French fries in a different kitchen, how much time does it take? So we'll remove the time difference, and now we need the kitchen name. So here we need to filter for an item name. So I'll just put a filter on this thing, and I'll just select French fries. And here I need the time difference per item in values. And when I do the average calculation over here, so this way we got the answer to our fifth question. How much time does the most popular item take to prepare? Now the next question is how many orders were prepared below and above average preparation time? So for this, what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a new column which will help us to classify each order ID based on their average preparation time. So the first thing what we'll be doing is going to a data view again, and we need a column again. So we'll just click on new column. All right. So here we need to just mention, okay, so we'll just mention order classify. So let me explain you this in the Excel version, how we'll be doing it. The first thing is we'll be taking the order ID, and we'll be taking the time difference in minutes. So I'll hold control and click on both and move to sheet 1. I'll paste these two things here. I'll select these two columns, remove the duplicates. After I remove the duplicates, I get the time difference in minutes for each order. I'll just put an average of these number, and I get 10.7 is my average. So for this, what we'll be doing is first we'll be taking summarize. So we need to summarize sheet 1. I need to summarize order ID and time difference. So once I simplify this, I get that complete table. Now I'll just be using AVERAGEX for this table, and I want to take an average of time difference in this particular table. So once I do this, I will be getting 10.7 because I have classified that. And now the next step is I'll just need to use a simple if function, that if my time difference is less than the average, then it will show me below average, else above or equal to average. So I'll just classify. So here we get below average and equal, above, equal to average. So now we can use this complete feature. I'll just move this. Now I want to know how many order IDs do I have. So I'll do count testing orders, and I want this to have the order classification in rows. So here we have the filter. So what we'll be doing is we'll remove this filter, and we exactly know that 12 orders are above are equal to average, below average is 22 orders. Now the next question is distribution of final bill by brand. If you notice in the brand column, we have the final bill repeated. So what we'll be doing is we'll take this and we take the order ID. So we take all these three things. Let me move to column R, paste this. Now after this, I'll be removing the duplicates. So I get only one value for each order and brand. And now in the end, I'll just be putting a sum if condition that I want to only see for brand 4, and I want to take the sum of the complete final bill. So I get 9 to 1. And let me take brand 1 and try to do this. So I get 9 to 1 and 219. Now, how do we do this? So we'll just use a new measure. And we need the final bill by brand. And the first thing what we need is we need to summarize uh, sheet 1 by order ID, by brand, and by final bill. That's done. Now next thing is I just want to use a sum. So in sum as well, you have sum and SUMX. So we'll be using SUMX. This is my table, and I'll just move to the end. And I want to summarize my final bill amount. So I've created that calculation. I'll just select this value. It comes in values, and I'll be putting my brand name. So you will get those values of brand 1 as 219 and brand 4 is 921, which we get over here. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe.